Hi, hi, hi. Welcome back. I have another amazing woman with me from the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite. This is Amanda Pfeiffer. She is a
Hello.
mama. Yeah, she's amazing. She's a mama. She is a church worship singer. She does acting. She's a writer. She's a producer, and she's an attorney. So, welcome, Amanda. I'm super happy to have you.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
Yes, we're gonna jump in. First, where do you live in the world? You don't have to be super specific,
No,
but
well, my address is no, Houston, Texas.
Okay, cool. Houston, Texas. So
Hmm.
love that.
Yes.
Okay, let's kick it off with what is your favorite joke?
Okay. I'm gonna change it.
Okay, I didn't even read
I
it. I
think.
don't like to read them because I like to be
Oh, okay.
surprised.
Okay. Well, I've got all of my because I'm a mom, all of my humor is still geared to like the 5 to 8 year old demographic. Okay. Did you hear about the fire that happened at the circus?
No.
It was really intense. Do you get it?
Oh, I get it. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Okay,
It took me a second.
I
Okay,
have one more. Did
yes.
you hear about the guy who named his dogs Timex and Rolex?
No,
They were watchdogs.
that's funny.
Yeah.
I'm always
It's like
amazed at the people who come up with these.
I know, it's not me.
That's too funny. I like the
Yeah.
tense. That one took a second. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of touched on it, but what all do you do in the industry and like what got you started in all of those?
Okay. A lot of hats. There's a lot of
Yeah.
different hats to cover. Grew up singing was kind of my first foray into performing. So grew up singing in church and in musical theater at school, and then like country music venues and things around Texas. Oh, and there's my
Puppy. Oh,
dog. That's my dog Bear. It's okay.
cute.
We've got some work going on in the backyard. Sorry about that. And so then in high school, I started getting into acting as well with musical theater, kind of not just singing, but acting also. Um, and then I have been a writer my whole life. Like I filled a journal the summer after my uh, first grade year of like short stories because I knew how to. Our teacher sent us home with a notebook and prompts of like stories to
Wow.
write. And so I filled up the whole thing and I went to turn it into her the first day of second grade. And she's like, "Oh, that's for you to keep." I thought it was an assignment, but I loved it. And I've
Yeah.
just been coming up with stories ever since. I went to the University of Texas and I was an English major. Um, Still dreaming of being a writer someday in some capacity. And then while I was there, I did a lot of acting in Austin, like commercials and short films and things like that. Um, Ended up doing an internship in Los Angeles with they're called Mosaic Media Group at the time, but it was Atlas Entertainment and Miller Management were the two companies that were together. And so Atlas Entertainment is Chuck Roven, and they just did Oppenheimer. You may have heard of it.
Oh, yep, that
um,
one. Okay.
yeah, all
Yeah.
that stuff. And then Jimmy Miller on the other side was doing like he managed a lot of comedians like Will Ferrell and Jim Carrey and those kind of things. So it was, I mean, I didn't even realize it at the time how valuable that experience was
Yeah.
to get that kind of um, access to these top players in the industry. And that was kind of my last semester at UT. I was actually in LA interning there. Um, and it was a great experience, but I really felt like, I don't know, prayed a lot and did not feel like I was meant to stay there. And so
Hmm.
that was kind of bittersweet. I was really grateful for that experience.
Yeah.
But I felt like God was calling me back to Texas. Um, and then I still kind of was with an agency here at the time and was still pursuing acting a little bit. Um, but I also had this dream of being a mom and getting married. And I was like, how is this practically going to work if I'm in Texas? So maybe the obedient thing to do is to like put this on the shelf, maybe forever.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to law school instead,
Yeah.
as you do.
Yeah.
And because there's such a huge writing, I think, component to law school, I really enjoyed it. And that there was a performative aspect to it too. I loved being in court and I was playing the
Oh,
role of the lawyer every time
yeah. I
I
never
was
thought
in
about
there,
that.
you know. Oh yeah. So that really kind of still scratched that itch a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and Then later on, I was practiced for about 2 years before I became a mom, and then transitioned to really being a stay-at-home mom. Um, for, I mean, my oldest is 10 now, so that's been my main focus for the last 10 years. But I would say got back into the acting world in 2018 when I was pregnant with my daughter, my youngest, because there was a casting call for a pregnant mom for a commercial here in
Mhm.
Houston.
Mhm.
And I still, all those years when I'm in the weeds with toddlers, I'm still looking at casting calls and things like that online,
Yeah.
even though it's like years behind me, I thought. And I saw that one, I just took a selfie, sent it in, and they wanted somebody who was at the Women's Hospital of Texas. And I had just like 2 weeks before made a big decision to follow my doctor there. And so she was at Texas Children's and she had moved to Texas Women's. And I was like, do I stay at Texas Children's or do I follow her? Prayed about that, followed her to Texas Women's. And then they're like, okay, well, we would love to have you for this commercial, but we need to confirm you're a patient. What hospital are you delivering at? I said, the Women's Hospital. They're like, great. This is for the Women's Hospital of Texas. And it was this huge campaign. I was like on a commercial during prime time. I had a billboard, like all this stuff, but it was like a 3-day shoot. And I remember thinking when I'm just sitting in wardrobe watching the monitors, like, I love this.
Yeah.
If I'm the mom in the regional commercial, so be it. Like I've got to find a way to like bring this back into my life. And I mean, thankfully, mercifully, like praying about it too, leading into um 2020 when let me back up. I thought when my daughter's 1, um, I'll really start investigating this. And that was spring of 2020 when everything shut down. But silver lining for me was that self tapes became popular, acting classes went online,
Mhm.
and a lot of opportunities opened up. So, yes, that was a circuitous story, but that's kind of my background about getting back into it.
Wow. Okay. I love that. I didn't know all that. Okay. So
Okay.
going back to your time at UT. So you said you went to
Yeah.
UT and started doing
Yeah.
commercials and something else. How did that happen? You're going to school, but then all of a sudden you're in like auditioning for
Oh,
commercials.
sure.
How did that
So
happen?
I was a friend of mine was with an agency called Page Parks when we were in high
Yeah.
school. That's here in Houston, and so her mom and we're in a Into the Woods, the musical together at our high school, and her mom said you need to submit to Page Parks, and so I did. And so through college, I was with them, and they sent me to auditions, and then slowly I got in with the film school at UT just
Hmm.
because they post like that they need their casting for actors. So that's how I started doing that sort of thing. Yeah.
Did that help, like helping the school at UT, like the RTF program? Did that help you build your
Yes.
resume and make connections?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And even local directors would post casting calls like at the college. So my first paid acting gig was for a short film that was by, a guy who had already established himself as, had lived in New York and was back in Austin making movies. But he had posted that this casting call through the RTF school.
I love that. That's one of the things I
Yeah.
recommend to actors who are newly getting into the industry,
Yeah.
is that being one of the options. Instead of going to Actors Access or Backstage or whatever, start
Yes.
small and start local, and especially with film programs because they are required to do this for their for their work, for their education. So they're
Yeah.
always pumping out new things. They're always needing actors. They'll call you again because they finally found someone they can trust and work with, and then they'll
Yes.
just keep you in their little community until you're ready to fly the coop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And you never know where they're going to go with their career either.
Yes.
So you can help each other out down the road, maybe
A
with
hundred
those early
percent.
connections. Yeah.
Perfect
Yeah.
example of that is I did somebody's thesis film a decade ago, and
Hmm.
we've stayed in contact, and we recently reconnected on a project, and they were doing something near me, and they called me, and it was a direct offer, and I went
Hmm.
down the same day, like I went to go film and do the script, and it was just like a boom, boom,
Oh,
boom.
wow.
And we got to
Yeah.
reconnect, and it was like, oh wow, thank you so much for thinking of me on this project. It was a lead role. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's crazy how we're all growing, and then to
Yes.
reconnect back later in life is so fun.
Yes. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yes. Okay. And then, so not only did you go to UT and you had Page Parks and you were doing acting and all of that, then you said
Hmm.
that you went to LA for the Mosaic
Yes.
something. How did that
Media
come
group.
about?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was the only student in the program who was not an RTF major.
Okay.
I had to, but I was also a dual major for a while with journalism, which is in the communications college, which is the same as RTF. So I was around a lot of film students all the time doing my journalism classes.
Hmm.
And I think I just saw a flyer for it or something. They called it
Oh,
UTLA. And it was a kind of like a study abroad program, but in Los Angeles. And I applied because I was interested in acting and screenwriting, and they had a list of companies that were looking for interns. And so I also was the resident assistant for our group because I was an RA at UT, and I said, hey, I could do this. I can be your RA in LA because I know how to do
right.
this already. So I also got my housing covered, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but they had this list, and so I didn't know too much about the different companies that were hiring, but submitted to I think Mosaic may have been the only one that I was really interested in because they had the management side and the production side. And so I knew I thought I would learn a lot. You got to see like how movies get made. You also get to see how actors and screenwriters careers get managed.
Mm.
And they really let us it is unreal access that they trusted us with. I mean, it was brutal in the sense that like it was a very intense environment. People were getting screamed at sometimes and things like that, you know. So you're as an intern trying to lie low,
Yeah.
um, but also some really great opportunities to like, hey, we're going to be on the uh, phone negotiating this deal. You can listen in, just mute yourself, you
Oh,
know, and how
cool.
yeah,
What?
it was really, and they would have weekly um lunches for the interns where another executive would come through. So I've had lunch with Chuck Roven. I've had lunch with Jimmy Miller. And then they had their in-house counsel come and give a lunch one day. And I had also in the back of my head been thinking about law school, maybe down the road. And I'm sitting in that lunch and he said, I'll let you guys in on a secret. Lawyers run this town. I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna have to go to law school, I think,
Yeah.
you know.
Hmm.
Anyway. Um, but yes, I have a crazy story about that time if you want to hear it.
Yes, I do. I do.
This is before DoorDash or anything like that.
Okay.
So we were the DoorDash.
Yeah.
The interns were the DoorDash. Go run this errand, go deliver this food, go to the grocery store and pick up these napkins for this lunch we're having. And so one of the producers came in one day and said, does anybody want to run an errand to Jason's? And I said, I'll do it, thinking it's like Jason's Deli and go pick up some sandwiches or something for us. It was to take some paperwork to Jason Statham, the
Oh, how about
action
that?
star. How
Yeah.
about that? Yeah, yeah. And they said, okay, well, here's his address, here's his phone number. Call him when you get there. And he's got some construction happening in his driveway, so he might have to give you some direction on how to go. I'm like, okay. I'm like 21,
Yeah.
driving through the Hollywood Hills up to Jason Statham's house, and call him when I get there. I'm like, Amanda, I'm with Mosaic Media Group. I have this paperwork for you. Um, and he's like, okay, I'll be right out. Of course, there's no gate or anything. It's just his driveway and then his door. Um, so he opens the door and he's shirtless in his pajama pants or whatever. And it's like 2 in the afternoon.
Okay, I thought you were gonna
And
say fully naked, and I was like, oh no.
oh, no, 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 no,
Huh.
no. But I'm just like, okay. And there's his driveway is covered in like rebar, like they're going to pour a driveway.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I'm stepping through those little squares and
Oh.
it's kind of muddy. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go around here on the driveway and walk around up to his door. And as I walk on the driveway, my feet go whoop, whoop, whoop. They had already poured the other side. It was freshly poured. And then I'm like, oh no. And so I jumped down back over to like the rebar side, and he comes running over and he's kneeling down and starts like cursing me out. Um,
I thought you were gonna
like,
say he was like
what are you
helping you
doing? And
up.
all this stuff. Didn't they tell you? No, 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 no. Um, and I was mortified because I'm doing this internship for credit. I'm not making any money here,
Yeah.
like I can't say I'll pay for it because I don't have any money.
Yeah.
And so he kind of just as he's ranting, takes this file from me that I had to deliver to him, and I just slowly backed away and drove back to the internship. And I thought, like, what am I going to do? Like, I've got 2 months left. I can't get another internship. I can't pay for this. So I'm mortified. Go back up, walk over to the producer's desk, and he's on the phone. He's like, okay, and what'd she do? Okay. All right. And he hangs up, and I was like, I am so sorry. I had no idea. And he's like, it's fine. He can afford to fix his driveway. So I was
Wow.
like, okay.
So you had stepped in all the concrete, right? Like wet concrete?
Yes. Yes, I stepped in wet concrete and ruined Jason Statham's driveway. Yes.
But I'm thinking
um,
like, and how did you get back? Like, did you have concrete stuck to your shoes, like chunks of
it
concrete?
was it was pretty well set.
Okay, good, good,
So
good.
it barely went down, and I was
Uh-huh.
wearing like my Converse or something.
Yeah.
Um, but then I don't know, a week later, the same producer came back and he's like, you want to go make up with Jason? Because I have another errand for you. And I was like, oh God.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And so I went back and his driveway looked great. I tried to be like nonchalant, and he's like, I remember you. But anyway, and then he ended up saying like, oh, I was a mean old bugger last time you were here, and I'm sorry for that, blah, 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 and apologized and
Oh,
everything. So that
good.
was that was great. But I was like, what a
Mm,
story. Like, this is not, my parents are like, when we told you to leave your mark on Hollywood, that's not what we meant.
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. How funny would it
So
have been if he decided not to like fix his driveway and just leave your
leave
footprint
it.
there?
My footprint's there forever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
crazy.
it
Okay,
was it
so
was a crazy time.
yeah, and how fun like they trusted y'all to go do that stuff. Okay, so they gave you a
Yes.
rental car or what?
No, I had my own vehicle.
Oh, you drove
They
it.
would
Okay, cool.
reimburse us for gas and everything. But I
Oh,
mean,
cool.
this is dating myself, but we'd like print out our MapQuest
Yeah.
directions and all that stuff. Drive over
Wow.
to
And
these errands. Yeah,
how long was your internship over there?
I was there about 6 months, from the
Wow.
summer to December. Yeah,
Is that something they still do? Do you know?
I think so. Oh yes, yeah, because I still follow their program on social media.
That is
So
cool.
it's
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
because also part of it, half of the week you're at your internship, and half of the week you are taking classes um,
Oh.
through a program there. So I did screenwriting classes. We did like uh, um, how to develop a TV show, how to pitch a
Whoa.
show, different things. Yeah, how that we all filmed a short film. We had to write and produce a short film while we were there. Different things. It's a really great program.
I wish I had heard about it. I mean,
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't have been interested at the time because God had to like tell me to do this later in life, but like
yeah,
how fun. And so okay,
yes,
so for you guys listening, go look up Mosaic Media Group and
yeah.
see if this is something that you can get in on so you can get the backside of all of this industry stuff.
Well, and sure, if you are going to, if you're a student at the University of Texas, look up the UTLA program.
UTLA. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, through their radio,
So
television, and film school. Yeah.
were there any downsides to this internship or being there or anything?
Oh, I don't think so. I think it was a
That's great.
wonderful learning experience. Yeah. Um, you're exposed kind of to all types of personalities, and I think because I was in a really I don't know, high performing production, like they were making big blockbuster movies, The Dark
Yeah.
Knight and all that stuff they made like the year before I came. There were some really intense people in charge, and so
Oh,
and that could I would imagine that translates to other um, big companies as well.
mhm.
So, but I mean, it's good to learn how to navigate yourself in different environments around different
Yeah.
personalities and things
Oh,
like
for
that.
sure.
So, but yeah, I think the what we learned and like what we were given access to, um, I mean, I still use it, and it's been
Wow.
12 years or more. So yeah,
That's awesome. I love hearing
yeah,
that. I love hearing things
yeah.
that are highly valuable for people.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just so good to
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a load. What a beginning to
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad you got the confirmation to go to law school too through that because you said it was
Yes.
already on your mind and then you heard that and you're like, all right, I'm in.
Guess I gotta go. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what
Mm-hmm.
was one of the first steps that you took? So you said that you came back into acting kind of when things went online, but what's one of the first steps that you took to start your acting journey?
So before you submit to anything, you have to have a headshot of some kind. And so
Mhm.
I have a friend who's a wedding photographer who, for cheap, took some decent headshots for me in the beginning that I could use just for backstage. And ultimately, I waited a while to get on Actors Access, to be honest. I was
Yeah.
just doing backstage and like casting calls through Facebook, things like that, where I could have a little photo. And I had made a resume when I was in college when I was acting, so like I knew what that was supposed to look like. My credits were super dated.
Yeah.
um, but still I had a little resume and a current headshot that I could send out. So I think
Yeah.
that's one place to start. And then acting
Hmm.
classes, like I think whether you've done it before or not, especially if you've not acted before, but I mean, I think it benefits. I still take classes.
Hmm.
I think we can always be learning, but acting classes are a wonderful way to like test it out. If am I really interested in this? Do I
True.
like performing in front of? I like the idea of it, but then when I put it into practice, is it actually something I enjoy?
Mhm.
Is it something I'm willing to be like committed it to and learn about all that sort of thing? And then from acting classes, I have made some fantastic um, networking connections, and I've gone on to make um, short films with people that I've met in class. So it has a lot of
Yes.
good, yeah, purposes. Yeah.
Agreed. I love that. Yeah, both of those. And also, I love that you did like your headshots were by a wedding photographer, which we know once we're rocking and rolling, we need to use an
Yeah.
actual headshot photographer. But in the
Yes.
beginning, don't spend that kind of money on a professional photographer when you're
Yeah.
still trying to build a resume and you're still trying to get your feet wet in the industry. Like any good
Exactly.
photo will get you through the first, few hurdles of your career.
Yes. Yes. Just to get some new credits on my resume from
Yes.
local student films or local short films and things like that. Yeah.
100%. Okay, what's been one of the biggest struggles that you've had as an actor up to this point?
The biggest thing for me is that I'm also a mom, and that's like the most important thing I'll ever do on
Yes.
this earth. And so um, it is a constant
Hmm.
um, evaluation. And I mean, asking God, like, am I doing this right? Is this job worth it? Can I afford to be away? Um, on the flip side, it's been really sweet and affirming to see how my family's support of me pursuing
Oh,
this and to see like my kids get excited and we can have conversations about
oh,
storytelling and making movies and things like that wouldn't happen if I wasn't doing this. And I think it's important for them to see their parents kind of pursuing the gifts God's given them and
hmm,
um, having something maybe outside of parenthood too that we can grow in and challenge ourselves with. So, but yeah, just a practical time constraint for me is like, how do I honor my commitment as mom first and being here for
yeah,
my family
yeah,
while also doing these other things I think God's given me to do. So
yeah.
it's just a constant weighing. Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's like you almost feel bad because the thing that God's called you to do is actually fun. So you feel like then it's
Yes.
like, oh, this shouldn't be,
Yes.
I feel awful because I'm enjoying this and it's taking away from me.
I
But
yes, so true. I was
yeah,
just talking to a friend about that earlier today about like how if it was I don't know, something that was really strenuous, like that I just didn't have the enjoyment for, but I felt like, oh, I got to do it. It's the right thing to do. I'm like, it's hard to not feel the guilt for
right.
enjoying it, but I don't think that guilt is from God.
Right.
So,
No. Yeah.
um, yeah.
And one of the things I read from a mom, she was talking about how it's so important for moms to chase their dreams because then it gives
Mhm.
the kids permission to also do the same when they see
Yes.
you and they mimic what you do, not always what you say. So when they see
Hmm.
the you going after it and how hard you have to fight for it sometimes and the struggle of it
Hmm.
sometimes, like it allows them to be like, oh, okay, I can do that too. My mom's doing it.
Hmm.
And it also
Yes. Yeah.
fills your soul because when you're depleting your soul of the
Yes.
thing that brings you joy and like goodness, then that turns over into, or I guess I should say that relays into your personal family life because your
Right.
soul's depleted.
Right. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Good.
It's really sweet. My daughter told me recently, she's 5 years old, and she's like, when I grow up, I want to be a mom and a singer and an actor and a lawyer.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I'm like, okay,
That's
that's
cute.
so
You can
sweet.
do
Thank
all
you.
of it.
I can do all of it, baby. Yeah. I said, well, it's
Yeah.
worked out for me. So,
Yes. Oh,
yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So what are some tools, resources, trainings, groups, videos that have helped you in your career?
Okay. Well, first, you got to join the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite. And yes, like get connected with this group of women if you're a female actress. Um, that has been such an encouragement to me to like have other people, a lot of us who have, later in life have decided or have been called back into this or called into it for the first time. Um, I had a big fear, around 2020, really like I had done that commercial with my daughter, 2 years before, but um, of kind of like letting those closest to me know, like, yeah, I'm interested in this. You don't know this about me, but I used to do this, and I still want to do it now. And
Yeah.
feeling like there, I don't know, just having fear that there might be judgment from like my community or people who didn't know me in that way, being like, well, who do you think you are? And I mean, we shouldn't operate out of fear, right? But these are just things that I've worked through. And being in
Mm-hmm.
a group like the Sisterhood Suite and meeting so many other women who are in that same season of life, who have a similar calling,
Yeah.
and you're kind of stepping out in faith, even though there can be a lot of fear to overcome, or it's a very vulnerable thing to put yourself out
Mm-hmm.
there in that way, has been so encouraging. I've also learned a lot from our mutual friend TC Stallings, and he's got a group called the Uncompromised Christian Actors Group, co-ed group, and he's got a lot of um, really helpful techniques that I've used on set. I was just in Vermont filming a movie where I have a love interest, but I'm a married woman, so I wasn't going to kiss the
Yeah.
other actor in the scene the way it was written. And I think previously I would have thought, well, I just need to turn down this role. But TC kind of talked to us about how like there's ways to cheat the shot, and
Mm-hmm.
there's
Yeah.
ways to honor the integrity of the story,
Yeah.
um, and like put your marriage first and all those things. And so having learned that from him, I was like, and I talked to the director. I'm like, hey, this is kind of my comfort level. Is there any way? I understand, like, if you want to get somebody else, but like, is there any way we could rewrite it or work around this? They said yes. So I still got to go have this remarkable experience. And they were able to film it in, I think, a really sweet way. So the moment in the movie is still very sweet, but they just end
Oh.
up, the other character is a widowed man, and he's uh, always been wearing his wedding ring this whole time. And then this, like, he professes his love. And this is the first moment we see that he's no longer wearing his wedding ring. So it's like, we're going
Oh.
to go in for a kiss, and they zoom in to show he's no longer wearing his wedding ring.
Oh.
And it
Yeah.
was really, I appreciated how they worked that out for us. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so I've learned that from TC. Um, and what was the other question?
Like other tools, resources that have helped you in your career.
Yeah, other tools and resources. So I would also just say, like, your local acting, like,
Yeah.
look for a local acting coach. And we've talked before about sometimes you have to test people,
Mm-hmm.
take a test class. Maybe it's not a good fit. But I've been really fortunate to have two teachers here in Houston, Sarah Gaston, and she has Sarah Gaston Studios, and then Lee Stringer at the Film Acting Academy, who have been amazing teachers and have provided a really safe space where I feel like I've been able to be challenged and grow as an actor, but also not have to like compromise on what I'm comfortable with.
Good. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've gotten a chance to talk with Justina. She was asking about classes a couple of
Oh, okay.
meetings ago, and I
Oh,
told her improv because like I don't know anybody in Houston that does classes,
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
also I think in-person classes are great if that's an option. But
Yes.
okay, good.
Yes.
I'll have
Yes. And they
to.
have in-person class. And another thing that's really great about actually both of their classes is they record your scenes that you work on. So then you also have, if you need material, you've not been in anything, but you did a really great scene in class, you can use that as a demo
Hmm.
reel when you're getting
Hmm.
started. So, yeah.
Yes, love it. Okay, you mentioned the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite. What made you join that? And how did you find it?
So I found it, I think, because I was friends with Peggy already, and I think she shared about it on Facebook. And I was already in this group through TC, but I was really craving a group of just women because I think as women we face unique challenges in the acting world. And so it felt like a really safe place to kind of just unload and say, like, this is what I'm going through. These are the career challenges I'm facing. And we kind of are all coming at it from a similar, I don't know, perspective.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's how I found it. I think Peggy shared about it on Facebook. So, yay.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you touched on this a little bit with the movie that you just did, but being a Christian in the film industry, is there anything that you do or don't do because of your faith?
Yeah. So regardless of the role, I always pray about whether it's the right, like, I pray about, do I submit to this role
Yeah.
or not? If I get an offer, I pray about whether I accept it or not. Um, and it's interesting, like, really trying to rely on God for that because I've accepted roles in mainstream projects that surprised me, but I
Mhm.
felt like God had me there for a reason,
Yeah.
and that have proven to be wonderful experiences. And then I've prayed and declined roles in faith based projects that I just did not have peace about being a part of.
Good. Good.
So I think there can be a misperception of like, well, you just got to say if it's faith based, you got to say yes to all of it,
Mm.
and yeah, there's just praying for discernment all the time
Yes.
on the right role, and maybe it's nothing wrong with the role, but it's not meant for you.
Right.
That's another thing too. And then so like it's shared, like, wasn't going to kiss another actor or do like any kind of intimate scene, um, because I'm a married woman. So I've got that. But otherwise, I just really take it script by script,
Hmm.
um, with prayer of like, is this the right role for me? There could be so many different things that pop up about whether you're comfortable or not with certain material. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think it's just being willing to holding it with an open hand and
Hmm.
knowing like, oh, it's okay. It's up to God whether you get this role or not, and just staying true to like what you believe and your comfort levels and what you feel like you're called to, and like being willing to pass on a role so that you don't have to compromise your values.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
true. So true. How do you practically build your relationship with Jesus while you're pursuing acting and motherhood and being a lawyer and all of that jazz?
Well, the thing with the lawyer, I'll just say, is that I just keep my license current. So I don't have a
Oh,
lot of,
nice.
yes, yeah, I don't have huge commitments with that, but it is helpful for understanding contracts and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, well, I love the YouVersion app that has like Holy Bible or something on the icon.
Hmm.
But they have a ton of Bible studies available through there, and I do one with some family members. I've done the Bible in a year through there, and just to start my day with that. And you can
Yeah.
also listen to the Bible that way. So that's just an easy way to like get God's word really often. Um, but I think it's easy to look for God in this and to see God working in this industry in
Yeah.
particular. And
Hmm.
I'm talking about like God winks and all of those things. And I think about like, well, had I not, you can just look back and see like this connection was here and this connection. And if I hadn't done this role, I wouldn't have met this person and this led to this. And then even creatively as a writer, anything that I'm inspired to write, I feel like is from God, and I'm just like a conduit,
Yes.
So
Hmm.
um, I think it's easy to want to connect with God when you see Him working, and I see Him working when I'm pursuing these things. And then
Oh,
being in the worship team, music is
yes.
huge for me to like connect with God, and really fortunate to be on the worship team at my church, and that's an amazing group of people. But to connect with God through music too, I mean, you can do that anywhere. You don't have to be stationary.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I do like, I remember, I think it was last year, just for those who are listening and watching, just how cool God works, like orchestrates some things. I remember when I first, like you came to content and I was in the registration
Mm-hmm.
building and you and Sarah walked in and we're all chit-chatting and we had just,
Mm-hmm.
I think, talked about how like y'all are on the worship team and you sing and all of this.
Yes.
And I think Bijou had just come out of the thing or had just told us, I don't remember, but pretty much we needed someone for worship that night. Was
That
it that night?
night.
Yeah, because you guys were there
Yes.
for the awards day. And I was
Yes.
like, oh my gosh. Bijou,
Yes.
like we just found out these ladies do worship. And I just heard you say on the walkie, or she told us, I don't know, we need worship. And so connected y'all, and you and Sarah did beautiful worship for us that
Thank
night.
you.
But like, how
That
cool
was
that like if you
crazy.
guys would have
Yeah.
stopped to pee, or like you would have missed
Yeah.
Bijou, if you would have, like who knows? But
Yes.
God's timing is so perfect.
Yes,
Just
that was
works.
an incredible experience. And that we're just, yeah. And so Sarah is my writing partner. And so we were there for a script that was nominated. And then, but we met because we're on the worship team together. And
Mhm.
then to get to lead worship on the award ceremony night before, like, what?
And that
That
was your
could be
first time
only
ever attending, right?
ever. Yeah, we didn't know anybody there. And so then it also opened, like, we were only able to come for that one day, like that one full Friday. Um, and so part of the benefit of going to these festivals is that you can network and connect with people all week when you're there, but we kind of missed that opportunity just with
Mhm.
having to do things at home. So God opened that door too, because we were the singers for the show that night or for the award ceremony. So afterward, we had like a connection point, a jumping in point
Yes.
with people. And yeah, that was
Love
really cool.
it.
Yeah.
So good. I love seeing when
Yeah.
God works like that. I was just telling the
Yeah.
ladies on the call earlier that
Yeah.
um just I would when I pray for blessings, I always pray that God would make it undeniably him so that nobody else can get credit for it. Because I just
Mm.
want it to point back
Yeah.
to him, like everything is him. Just amazing how he'll work if we
Right.
allow him.
Yes.
Okay. I just saw your first two answers to this question, but I'm going to tell the audience what you said. So the question is, what's your
Okay.
favorite book or quote? And your answer is impossible question. I
Oh,
love
that's
that.
right.
Okay, what's your favorite book or
Yes.
quote? I haven't read the rest of that.
I was like, oh, I forgot I even answered that one. Okay, I have to check my notes.
Hmm.
Oh gosh, Venus, I'm sorry. I wrote so much here. You guys, I'm an
Good.
English nerd. I love
I
this.
wish I
Okay.
would have read all of this before, but I'm just going to get to hear it from you.
Okay. So if you are a writer, um, these are not faith-based books. So keep that in mind as you if you read these. But Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott and Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert are fantastic memoirs about writing. I'm a big fan of Steve Martin, so I've read and listened to his memoir, Born Standing Up, twice. Um, and then Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility is like my um, English nerd favorite book. And then my absolute favorite book
Hmm.
is East of Eden by John Steinbeck.
Okay.
So yes, and that is kind of a parable based on Cain and Abel,
Oh,
um, but kind of like a great American saga. If you're like looking for a great American novel, but it deals a lot with this idea of sin and free will and forgiveness and brothers who betray each other, and it's beautiful. So
yeah.
that is my favorite. Oh, and then I'll tell you this: I wrote my quote was from Sense and Sensibility.
Okay.
Um, this is talking about one of the characters. She was without any power because she was without any desire of command over herself. Um, so I said, this applies to so many things, but I see it boiling down to discipline and self control. So much in this industry and in life, we can't control, but we can always turn to God, trust that He's in control. And then with grace, we can control how we respond to whatever life throws at us. So,
Can you say
yeah,
that
those are
quote
my,
one more time? I really like that.
yes, she was without any power because she was without any desire of command over herself.
That's good.
Yeah. Isn't
That's
that good
good.
stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
like that you shared that one. I've never heard it before.
Yeah.
Okay, final question of the day. For somebody who's wanting to get into acting, but they're feeling stuck or they're not sure where to start, what
Mm.
advice would you give them?
Okay. Well, acting class. Yeah, it's kind of going back to that is I think the best place to start to get your feet wet and see like, do I actually like this? I like the idea of it, but it's kind of scary to get up in front of people. And after you, even if and it's okay if it's scary. That doesn't mean it's not meant for you either. I still get
Right.
nervous. I don't know about you, Venus, but yeah, I get nervous all the time. Um, but when you get to the other side of that experience, do you have that feeling of like, I can't wait to do that again, you know? And then if so, I think that's a clue to like keep pursuing it. And I would say, um, yeah, I would say getting into acting class is the first step. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, 100%.
Okay.
And
Okay.
to remind the audience of what you said earlier, whenever you're starting to check out acting classes, just remember that you can always audit the first class. So when you find
Yes.
one that you want to try, just connect with the coach and say, hey, is there a way that I
Hmm.
can audit it, check it out? And that way you're not
Hmm.
paying for a 6 week course that you actually don't like, or a
Yes.
acting coach who's just so, completely doesn't jive with your personality and you're not committed to
Yes.
anything. So audit before you commit if they'll let
Yeah,
you.
I'll tell you too, a plug for Tina Gallo. I don't know if have you taken classes with Tina?
I haven't. Mm-mm.
She's a Christian in the industry though, and she's
Yeah.
also part of the Actors Studio in New York. So she's got great credentials, but she is adamant that there's not going to be any material that you do in class that's make you feel uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
I would say also Zoom. If you're a mom in particular, and it's like I want to take acting classes, but I can't leave, like there's so many classes available on Zoom now too that you could try out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so true,
So,
so true. Yeah.
yeah.
Which makes it so much easier to stay in
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing, Amanda. I love this. I learned so much, like just a lot. Your books, your
Too much.
experience, everything. No, I love learning. I love learning.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So yeah,
This is
thank you.
fun.
Okay, tell the audience where they can find you online.
Okay. I do most of my stuff on Instagram, so you can follow me at Amanda V Pfeiffer on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, same Amanda Pfeiffer. And then I have Slide Light Productions is my kind of production banner, and that's also on Instagram. You can follow along for updates on my short film Right On, hopefully in festivals near you in the next year.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to plug that a little bit. She just submitted right
Yeah.
on to South by
Hmm.
Southwest. So be praying that it
Yeah.
gets in there if that's what
Yes,
God
that'd be so
wants
cool.
and gets them some
Hmm.
big exposure.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, well, I will talk to you later.
All right. Goodbye, my friend.